the 4th of July, and the Pickles have invited their family and friends over for a barbecue. Tommy tries to eat a beetle he picked up off the ground, but Didi stops him in time and throws the beetle away. It lands on Lou's nose. Lou flicks it off, and the beetle then lands on Drew's shoulder. Howard swats the beetle away before it finally lands on the back of Spike, who's begging furiously for the turkey burger Stu is currently grilling. Didi puts Tommy in the outdoor playpen with the rest of the babies. In the playpen, Tommy suggests they play with his brand new ball, which impresses his friends. Unfortunately, Angelica takes the ball and hits over the fence when none of the grown-ups are looking. Naturally, Tommy begins to cry. Didi rushes over to comfort him. While she is holding him, Tommy can see over the fence and locates his ball. Tommy stops crying, and Didi puts him back in the playpen. Bill and Lil ask Tommy why he stopped crying and point out he could have gotten anything he wanted if he'd continued to cry. Tommy says he saw his ball and that they're going to break out and go into the next yard to retrieve it, because a baby's got to do what a baby's got to do. The effect is spoiled, however, because his paper slips and nearly exposes him in front of his friends. The babies break out of the playpen and slip into the next yard through a loose board, for there's a fancier landscaping than the Pickles' backyard. The 4 of them split up and explore the yard separately to search for the ball, though without success. When Chucky gets his head stuck in a log, the other 3 pull him out. Chucky, frustrated, rants at Tommy, who then finds his ball. It turns out that the ball is in yet another yard, and this one barren, save for an old doghouse, and is blocked off by a chain-linked fence. The DeVille twins help Tommy and Chucky over the fence and argue over which of them goes next. Tommy tells them to wait there and walks farther into the yard to retrieve his ball. What none of them realize is a big, vicious bulldog occupies the doghouse, and he becomes very angry when he sees Tommy in his yard. Just as Tommy grabs his ball, the bulldog comes out of the doghouse and charges at little Tommy. Fortunately for Tommy and Chucky, the dog is chained to the doghouse and they're just out of reach. Unfortunately, the dog continues to charge and starts to pull the doghouse loose, gradually coming closer to Tommy. Tommy helps Chucky over the fence, but the fence is too high for him to jump over by himself. As this is happening, the dog is getting even closer to Tommy. Phil and Lil, frightened, run back towards the Pickles' backyard and cling to Betty's legs in terror. At this time, the grown-ups finally notice the babies go out of the playpen and that Tommy and Chucky are still missing. As the grown-ups search the backyard, the bulldog is coming closer, and Tommy finally begins to scream. None of the adults hear the scream, but Spike, who is on the verge of getting an unintended turkey burger, does. Spike abandons the burgers and leaps into action to save Tommy. As Spike scrambles to get over the fence, he gets his head caught in one of the large tiki head decorations the Pickles set up for the occasion. Spike dashes through the next yard and leaps the chain-link fence, putting himself between Tommy and the bulldog. Luckily, the bulldog finds Tiki Head Spike terrifying and retreats into his doghouse. Tommy and Chucky ride Spike back into the yard, where the grown-ups are relieved to find them safe. However, Stu left the burgers unattended too long, and now they're all burnt to a crisp. At nighttime, everyone is gathered on a hill behind the Pickles' backyard, watching nearby fireworks light up the night sky. As a reward for his heroism, Stu gives Spike the burnt burgers. While Spike eats, Tommy notices the beetle on Spike. This time when he plucks the beetle off, he puts it to the ground instead of attempting to eat it. Then Tommy gives his furry hero a hug as he watches the fireworks with his parents and friends, and his ball. Stu, accompanied by Didi, has a job interview with Mr. Mucklehoney, who is a huge practical joker. But their babysitter Tiffany calls them with a message that she can't look after Tommy this evening because her other goldfish died. They then try to ask Lou, but he has plans to go to the bowling alley with his friend Louise, and so Stu and Didi have to take Tommy with them. Didi isn't able to stay at the restaurant, however, because Lou calls the stay he got into an argument with Louise and wants to be driven home. Didi intends to take Tommy with her. Mr. Mucklehoney insists that he and Stu can help look after Tommy. Stu tries to impress Mr. Mucklehoney with his helicoptertron, an unknown toy, pole walkers, and googly specks, but none of these pitches are successful. Neither Stu nor Mr. Mucklehoney notices as Tommy leaves his seat and crawls under the table where he finds a wad of gum, which he grabs and wraps around one of Mr. Mucklehoney's shoes. Tommy also ties Stu's shoelaces around the table leg. Tommy then crawls into the kitchen and decides to make his own dishes by adding different things in the food, such as dropping pieces of silverware into the crust of a pie and adding a mix of onion powder, black pepper, and Tabasco sauce into Mr. Mucklehoney's soup. The soup, which Tommy put in the aforementioned deadly combination of spices in, is taken to Mr. Mucklehoney, who chokes on it and asks for water. Stu only now realizes Tommy is missing and relieved when he sees him pop up from a plate of spaghetti. He attempts to retrieve Tommy, only to trip and fall due to his shoelaces being tied to the table leg. The table tips and lands on top of Mr. Mucklehoney. A waiter carries Tommy back to Stu, who thinks the night was a disaster. Mr. Mucklehoney, however, is still laughing, thinks Stu has set up everything as a prank. He is so impressed by Stu's twisted mind that he hires him. He also pays them for their damage Tommy caused. As they leave the restaurant, Tommy gives the grater some noodles that he had in his pocket, and Mr. Mucklehoney offers Stu a project to work on, a doll with edible hair. He is greatly amused by the name Stu comes up with for it, Alice Alfalfa Sprout.